Well, I guarantee if there's ever a video I have made on this channel that will definitely make people mad because of the opinions that I have, it's probably this one. So yeah, let's make some people mad. JRPGs and what a JRPG is has been a controversial topic for a long time. There's been controversy around the term from back in the 2000s when certain channels like G4 would kind of drag that term through the mud and use it in offensive ways. And also what a JRPG is and how it consists based on whether it has turn-based combat, whether games with action combat fall into it. It's a very controversial sort of, how would I say it? It's muddy water, probably, is the best way to say it. And so I've just done my best to say what I would consider a JRPG and what in my mind falls under that category. But obviously people will have differing opinions, and I'm here to just say this is just my opinion, and I want to talk about some games that I like because the word JRPG has been thrown around a lot because of Metaphor, which is an amazing game. I have not finished it, but it's an amazing game, and I really, really love it. And I find myself just wanting to talk about more games in that genre. So yeah, don't get too mad, I guess. And yeah, let's dive right on into it. Big thumbs up. Woo, let's have fun. Yeah! Well, it was not the first JRPG I ever played. I absolutely love Dragon Quest IX. I think it's the best Dragon Quest game, albeit I've only played 2 of them. So I don't really have a basis to say that. But I'm gonna say it anyway, it's my favorite. Now, me saying I've only played 2 of them, I've only played 2 to completion. I beat 9 and I've beaten 8, and I'm trying to play through 11, or at least I was until Metaphor came out. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt, but of the ones I've played, I really love 9, and a lot of people seem to share that opinion about 9. I would love to play more Dragon Quest games, but I don't have a ton of time in my life. I can't just, you know, vanish into a time-proof room like I'm Vegeta in the Time Chamber, and, you know, train and play all these JRPGs so I can talk about them. But of the ones I've played in the Dragon Quest series, I really love 9, and it seems to be a universal standing that people really like 9. I remember playing it on my DS and having a fantastic time with it. From the mechanics to the JRPG systems, to the way you level up your characters, to the cast of characters, and the story that they go through, I find myself really obsessed with that game and having a strong desire every once in a while to go back and play it. Even if it's just to open it and walk around in my old save file, it kind of excites me. Sentinels is, in one way, a very different Dragon Quest game from what I've seen with the others. It takes itself to, you know, new heights, literally and figuratively, and it also gives you a little bit more freedom than some of the other games do, at least for the time when it came out. And I find myself really in love with games that give you that kind of freedom. I hate it when an RPG really forces you to go a certain way. A lot of what's fun about those games is being able to open them up, to try in different builds and, you know, sort of figure out different ways to accomplish what you want to. That's sort of the fun part of JRPGs for me, is grinding and finding these, you know, little ways to build your team to make yourself feel basically invincible and be proud of the hard work you put into them. It's sort of like, you know, grinding and grinding, and then finally you have this awesome team that can take down the most powerful of villains. It's exciting. It feels like you've taken this journey, literally and figuratively, to build this team. And Dragon Quest IX really, really shoves that together in the perfect way. I know I'm kind of talking vaguely, and you'll notice I do that with a lot of the games in this video, but that's because I really want people to play them. I make these videos to suggest things, and I don't really want to spoil too much. Obviously, I try to show footage from, you know, different stuff that I can, but it's hard to not, you know, find a desire to want to just yap about it as much as I can, but for the sake of time, we're going to compress it. Now, as I had said, I love games where you can make different builds, and I could even say I love games where I like to really break the game a little bit here and there, and that is definitely my next entry, so let's jump to it.
After a mission goes wrong, Federation Officer Claude is stranded on an undeveloped planet. There, he meets Reyna, who possesses mystical powers. Was it fate or mere coincidence? Soon after, the two get entangled in a sinister plot within the galaxy. In this science fantasy RPG...
Star Ocean: The Second Story R was a game I picked up because my friend Tay told me it was awesome and that I should definitely check it out. And boy, am I glad I did. If you've been following the channel for a while, you notice it made my honorable mentions list last year, and as time has gone on, I feel like I should have listed it higher as one of my favorite games of last year. It's an incredible remaster of an old game. Granted, I haven't played the old one, but looking at the footage and seeing what people have said online, it's clearly done a great job of adapting its source material, and it's a ton of fun. Having it on my Nintendo Switch as I traveled around for my job or with family and things like that, and being able to boot it up and just play a little bit, it is one of the best games I've enjoyed for that. It's a great journey, it has tons of great twists and turns, and you can absolutely break this game. If you grind even a little bit and start to allocate your stat points, you can make yourself nigh invincible. The game really just lets you have a ton of freedom, probably more than it should. You can really push the bounds of what's possible. If you want to make yourself just a crit monster where you're hitting for 111 and then suddenly 10,000 damage, I mean, that's not an exact thing you can do, but you get my idea. You can really push the limits of what's possible. The game lets you tweak every single little stat to perfection. If you are someone like me who loves to get into the nitty-gritty and build things, like if you're the type of quote-unquote Minecraft player who is like really meticulous about every little detail in their house, then this is the kind of game for you. You can be super, super detailed with everything you want to do. And along with that, the game presents an incredible sci-fi story with some great fantasy elements worked into it as well. And some of the twists and turns genuinely shocked me. There was a couple of times where I was like, oh, I think the game's about to end, and I was like, oh, I am absolutely wrong. This is not going the way I expected. It kept me completely focused at every single turn. The game's beautiful. I love its 3D, 2D pixel art style that a lot of JRPGs have been doing recently, which I think is awesome, like the Dragon Quest III remaster that's coming out soon. I love that art, and I love that style, that sort of Octopath Traveler, or tell me in the comments if I'm wrong, but that's the game I always think of that did it first, quote unquote. But if there's others that have, please point that out to me. But I absolutely loved Star Ocean Second Story R, and I do recommend everybody check it out. And that's all I really got to say about that. So yeah, moving on to our next entry. It's an absolute classic, and it's one of the first JRPGs I ever played. Still not the first. That will show up on this list, though. And yeah, let's jump into quite an iconic one. Now, I want to preface that I'm not exactly a hardo on how you experience Final Fantasy VII. If you've never played the original and just want to jump into the remasters, I think that's completely fine. The rebuild is really great, and I loved Remake and Rebirth. They were both really, really awesome. But I know some people feel differently about that, so I do want to say that there is nothing wrong with going back to the original. It still holds up really, really well, almost 30 years later. It's super exciting in that sense. I find myself quite amped to see where the rebuild series goes, but I also find myself having a soft spot for the original that I played. It's a really amazing game. Final Fantasy VII was, for the time, revolutionary when it came out, and to this day, as I said, still holds a candle to modern games despite being really, really old. Its visuals struggle, obviously, against the modern times, but in the end, its story, its music, its characters, especially its characters, help carry the test of time. I absolutely adore the cast in this game, and I really think that's where Final Fantasy VII stands strong. Yes, it has a great plot, it has great twists, it keeps you on the edge of your seat constantly, along with having a story that feels really deep and kind of hitting you in the chest. But it's the cast of characters. It's the journey you go along with them. The way they interact with each other, the way they banter. That is where this game stands strong. You feel like you're one of them. You feel like you're a part of the crew. You feel like you're a member of Avalanche. And it's super, super exciting to go on that journey with them. I found myself tearing up, crying, excited, thrilled, every emotion you possibly could when I first played this game, and I find myself going through the remakes, feeling it all over again. This game is amazing, and I really think that while the mechanics of this game are really strong, what makes FF7 so good is its story. I love it. It may miss a few beats here and there, but overall, I find it to be a real masterpiece, and without FF7, the first JRPG I ever played probably wouldn't exist. So yeah, I could yap about FF7 for a long time, but let's jump into a game I could yap even more about. So yeah.
The world's made of light and darkness. You can't have one without the other.
I don't care who this organization is or what it's planning. There's nothing to worry about, right?
Go where?
There is someplace I want to go, and someone I want to see.
It has been far too long, friend.
This is going to be a controversial entry on the list. There are a lot of people that don't consider Kingdom Hearts to be a JRPG. But in my mind, I do see it that way. It has Final Fantasy style mechanics, and while it has more action-based combat, it still has a lot of those core systems, leveling up, different things that make a JRPG, in my mind, a JRPG. So I'm gonna count it. And also, I love Kingdom Hearts 2, so yeah, we're gonna talk about it. Funnily enough, KH2 was actually the first Kingdom Hearts game I ever played. I got it as a gift from my mom, who didn't understand the fact that giving me the second one before the first one would probably confuse me, but at the age of 5, I didn't exactly care. I pieced it together in my head. I don't know if that's a bad way to experience something, but I can tell you at least trying to fill in the gaps on my own, and then going back to the old games to experience things, gave me a really unique perspective on Kingdom Hearts 2. How did Sora end up in this pod? How did all these things happen? Who's Roxas? Who are all these characters? I had a super unique experience with this game, and going back to it, it is absolutely one of my favorite games of all time, and I get really emotional when I play it. It reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me of a time long gone, and I find that other people seem to experience that emotion too with this game. I love Tetsuya Nomura. I talked about Final Fantasy VII just now, and now I'm talking about Kingdom Hearts. I love him, and while a lot of people sometimes don't like his storytelling or don't like, the way he makes games, and I'll be the first one to admit, that man loves a good twist, no matter what the cost. I adore Kingdom Hearts 2. Sure, it's really cheesy at times. Sure, it has some insane storytelling beats that it goes for, but it's a ride like no other. I have genuinely never played a game like Kingdom Hearts 2. Nothing that has a story even similar or as far-reaching and as grasping, that is willing to be so serious at times and yet so goofy, no pun intended, at others. It's kind of beautiful in a way. And the combat is fantastic. It's the best in the Kingdom Hearts series for that. Switching between, the different forms like Valor and Wisdom, awesome, love that. All of the different, cameos you could do, like summoning Chicken Little and, stuff like that. And going to all these Disney worlds, but also still having a core of that Kingdom Hearts story pushing throughout, it's fantastic. And I also think it's the best collection of the Disney worlds they've had in one of the games. Overall, I think it's the best experience in the Kingdom Hearts series. And when I tell people to get into Kingdom Hearts, I always tell them play 1, Chain of Memories, and then 2, and then probably stop there unless you're really, really committed. But I definitely sing the praises of 2 from the bottom of my heart. I love that game. But with that being said, it is not my favorite JRPG of all time, so let's jump into a game that really made me fall in love with the genre. So yeah, let's jump right into it.
You took everything from us! No need to hold back. Go for it!
The actions of the Phantom Thieves showed no sign of stopping.
I'm not sure I've ever experienced a game with a better opening sequence. I was hooked to Persona 5 the first time I played it. I was 17, went to a GameStop because I was stuck at home alone and bored, and I had no idea what I was going to do. For personal reasons that I won't get into, medical stuff, I'll say, I was stuck at home for a while. And I wanted to kill the time. A lot of my friends were going out for spring break at the time, and I couldn't really go with them. So I said, you know what, I need to do something to kill time and not feel sorry for myself. So I went to my local GameStop, and I decided I was just going to buy a game. Buy anything. And I went into the store, and I saw a big poster for Persona 5. I had no idea what it was. I had no idea what it took place with. And I remember I just walked up to the cashier, and I said, do I need to have played the other games in the series to play that? And he was like, no, are you interested in buying it? And then he gave me a discount for the Steelbook edition, which I still have. Where is it? It's right here. Normally they would cost more for this, but he sold it to me for the same price as the normal edition because they had extras and he wanted people to play the game. Wish I knew where that GameStop employee was. I'd love to thank him because a lot of my love for video games and my desire to talk about video games came from me playing this. Persona 5 is a phenomenal game. And I list Persona 5 Royal, as you've noticed, mostly because Persona 5 Royal is just Persona 5 with more content, which makes it better. It's kind of like arguing about 10 out of 10s. If the original was already a 10, and you add more to that 10, it's just a better 10, I guess. Persona 5 has one of the greatest soundtracks of all time for a video game. The music by Lin and the Atlas sound team is fantastic. And the opening sequence of the robbery of the casino, it's just so gripping. I found myself immediately sucked into the world. I was just completely overwhelmed by its story, its cast of characters, desiring to know how did we get here, what happened, and in medias res story where you jump right into this exciting moment, this band of thieves, wearing their masquerade masks, going through this, giant casino what's happening, what's going on. I need to know. And the story just keeps going twist and turn after twist and turn. I never expected anything, and I found myself having a constant smile on my face the whole time. And, you know, without Persona 5, we wouldn't get games like Metaphor that are doing so well today. And I love the Atlas team, and I think that they make phenomenal video games. I think they are one of the great teams that make art within the video game medium. Their games are gorgeous, and Persona 5 Royal is certainly no exception. From the music to the characters to the gameplay, the turn-based gameplay that is some of the best you could experience in the genre, it's just fantastic. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. I could sit here for hours and tell you how much I love it. I not only have a personal connection to that game, but I find myself always amazed by its great story, great characters, and I'm repeating myself, but I just can't help it. The Phantom Thieves are, in my opinion, one of the best casts in a game, period. Seeing Joker in Smash feels so appropriate to me because I feel like a lot of people that are my age that, you know, jumped into Persona on 5, while a lot of people say, oh, you know, you have to play the older ones, which you absolutely should. 4 and 3 are amazing. And also there's Shin Megami Tensei, which if you're missing out on that, you're really missing out too. But Persona 5 feels so special to me because it feels like the first step where Atlas was like, we got this. We've mastered the formula, and we're ready to step out there with the Royal version and really just slam dunk, home run, send it to the field. But yeah, that's all I really got to say. Looking cool, Joker, and the Phantom Thieves are here to steal your heart, because they absolutely stole mine. That's my top 5 favorite JRPGs. It's a genre that's been getting a lot of news coverage these days, so yeah, super excited to talk about them and, you know, share the love that I have for that genre with other people. What are your favorite JRPGs? Let me know in the comments. I always make these videos to share things I love with other people so that they can love them too. I think videos like this can be a great thing to watch at the end of the day and go, oh, what's something I should check out? What does this guy think? And I try to always keep my reviews consistent and honest so that you guys know what I like, so that if you feel the same way as me, or even feel the opposite of me, you can know what my opinion means to you. So, yeah, please like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. Tell me about your favorite JRPGs in the comments, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you, everybody. Catch you on the flip side. So much love. Take care. Peace.